Hey all, today we're going to take a look at the Galco Jackass shoulder holster system for the Beretta 92 FS. Let's get into it. Now if you like this content, like, sub, shares, all that good stuff, I really appreciate it. Also down below, coupon codes and merch to help support the channel. So I'm going to start out the review by looking at craftsmanship and the overall build of the holster, and then we'll come back here. Alright, so here we are in the light box looking at craftsmanship. Now, there's a lot of things I like about this, and there was a couple things that kind of surprised me a little bit with the quality, but overall, I think it's a very good holster. So one of the big things about this shoulder holster that I think is really great, and probably the best feature of it, is how the gun itself rides. So generally you have a horizontal holster where the gun might ride like this, and you have a vertical holster where the gun might ride with this, and then the butt of the gun sticks out like this. Both of them have their advantages. Both of them have their downsides, especially the horizontal, where, especially if you have a larger gun, it can kind of stick out, especially if you're a little bit on the thin side, which is a problem I run into. With this style holster, it usually rides like this. So it takes that big gun and it puts it on a pretty drastic cant, allowing for better concealment. And you can still draw it fairly easily. In fact, I've wore this style shoulder holster under a, non like zip hoodie, just a regular pullover hoodie, and I've been able to draw from underneath, basically pull the hoodie open a little bit on the side and reach up and grab the gun and pull it out without having to, remove the hoodie or anything, which is a really nice advantage, especially if you carry in the winter time. So that's a nice feature of this holster. So I'm going to start with the holster itself. And craftsmanship, well, it's about what you expect from Galco. They use plastic fittings here, which I want to take a minute and say I'm not a big fan of plastic. But in this instance, and I'll stick the gun in to show, I don't actually mind plastic. And in fact, I prefer plastic because, we'll stick the gun in here for a second, right? You'll see how close this rides to the gun. I prefer the plastic because metal would probably mar your finish, scratch up your gun, and that's not world ending, but the finish protects the gun, so when you scratch off the finish, you leave exposed metal. So they have basically all plastic fittings. They've gone from Chicago screws to, I'm getting ahead of myself with this part. They have gone from Chicago screws to these little plastic tabs. I at first wasn't a big fan of them, but I've kind of gotten used to them, and I guess they're slightly faster once you learn how to use them than Chicago screws. But honestly, they could have stayed with Chicago screws, and I would have been fine. Going back to the holster, one of the nice things that they do is they recess the snap here instead of it sticking out with a lot of different brands. So what that does is as you go and holster the gun, it's not an exposed snap to just, again, scratch the hell out of your finish and leave, bare metal exposed. So your gun's going to get wear, but, if you can avoid excessive wear, that's always nice. They have a snap down here for attaching different stuff like the tie-down strap. In my experience, if you adjust this holster correctly, you will never need it. I've never used a tie-down strap for anything but I think I did for a vertical shoulder holster, but other than that, you really should never need a tie-down strap for a downward cant like this or a horizontal style shoulder holster. But overall craftsmanship, the only thing with the holster itself that I wasn't happy about, and you might see here how it's all kind of like chewed up a little bit to finish. I've only been wearing this now for about a week or so, couple weeks. And this is not from wear. This is from the thumb brake was so tight breaking it in that I ended up having to wet this. And it's not recommended in the manual. In fact, I think they probably say don't do that. But even stretching, and I mean, in the manual they recommend back and forth and pulling and all that, and putting the gun in a bag and really, basically all the things that you hear everywhere as far as break-in. I could not get, like, the thumb brake was still like basically like here, right? Like it was close, but it was no way it was going to break. So I ended up having to wet this a little bit and just stretching it a little bit more, and now it's fine. It's still, the holster's still a little bit snug, but it draws fine, and I'll show that in a little bit. So once you get that break in, and I don't know if that was this specific holster, maybe it was just extra tight, because I actually reviewed a one for a 1911 a long time ago, and I've reviewed a lot of Galco products as a whole, and this is the first time I've had that aggressive of kind of a break-in procedure needed to get something to fit. And I actually had the same thing, and I'll get to the magazines in a little bit. I had the same thing with the magazines, but it wasn't as bad. I didn't have to wet them. So moving down to the harness. Now the harness is pretty nice. They do a um, wide strap here at the top, which is nice because that will help, especially when carrying a heavier gun. A little bit of wider strap, it just ends up being more comfortable, if you're carrying it all day. The straps, again, I've got no major complaints about the straps. They're kind of like a, raw, unfinished, almost like a suede, whatever feel to them. But they're pretty nice, and I have pretty much no complaints on the straps. The centerpiece here is what you would expect from Galco. There's a little plastic bit. Again, I don't mind plastic on these shoulder holsters because they've been putting this piece on as far as plastic for a while, and I've never had one fail, so I really can't complain. And it works, and it doesn't dig into you, so I'll give them a pass for the plastic. Moving to the mag holder, you have a double mag holder, plastic furniture, what you would expect. Tension screws, I've not really used them. The snaps on this, the little flaps here, were in a very aggressive thumb break-in, to the point where actually they probably need a little bit more, because I don't know if I show here. You can tell that snap is really pulling on, trying to come undone, but they don't. I think it needs a little bit more break-in. But they're working for now, and as I wear it, it'll stretch it out more, and I'll probably end up having to just sit and put a movie on or something and just pull and twist to get them a little bit more loose. But these are just standard 17 round magazines, so these aren't extended or anything. Unlike what's in the gun, which I'll show in a little bit, that actually, because of the angle of this holster, you can have a extended magazine in your gun, and it doesn't print any more than a flush fit one. But overall, not much about the magazine holster to go on about. It does have a little thing down here that you could swing around if you wanted to do a tie-down strap. Again, I have never needed a tie-down strap on this style shoulder holster, and if you set it up correctly, you shouldn't need it. But that's pretty much craftsmanship on the holster. Again, other than the rather aggressive break-in I had to do on it, I've got no major complaints. Once I set it up, it really rides pretty good, and I haven't really, had to adjust it after the fact. Nothing's been breaking, nothing's showing excessive wear, except for the little thing here, but that's because I wet it. So yeah, let's go and see how it conceals. All right, we're back. Now we'll start with concealment. As far as concealment goes, I'm wearing just a light Hawaiian shirt, and like it's pretty much gone. I mean, a nice lightweight Hawaiian shirt, again, I'm wearing a holster just to show, is enough to hide a full-size 92 FS. I kind of try and do worst case scenario for these guns because at the end of the day, everybody's body is a little bit different. Maybe you're carrying a different size gun. So, me showing concealment, I show how it conceals in my body, but this is worst case scenario, and it does a pretty good job. Now, if I pull this shirt tight, right, like nice and tight, yes, you do kind of see the bulge here, but again, you're concealing a 92 FS pretty well under a light shirt. So a light jacket or even a sweatshirt or something like that, it would completely disappear, at least for my purposes. So again, I'll spin around, and if I pull really tight, you can kind of see behind here, a little bit of the gun. But if I just leave this loose and open and hanging, I've been wearing this now for a little while, testing it out, and I've had no issues with printing. I've asked a couple people, like my wife and stuff, hey, can you tell if I'm wearing a gun or not? Comfort on this is really good once you get it adjusted. Now, it did take probably takes about a week or so before you're finally locked in with where you think you're going to have it. But once you get to that point, you should basically be able to wear this all day long. Literally, I come home from whatever I'm doing and I'll leave this on for a few hours because I'm too lazy to go and, take it off and put it where I store it for the night. And because it's so comfortable, I don't really mind doing that. But I'll take my jacket off here, or my shirt off here, and I'll show it rides really nice on my person. And one of the nice things is because of the downward cant, which Galco makes a couple different holsters. They make the vertical, right, which would be, barrel down, grip pointing out like this. And then they make the Miami style, which is basically the gun kind of hangs like this. And then they have the Jackass, which is this style. And honestly, I don't know why more holsters aren't like this, because with a full-size 92 FS, it conceals pretty well. Like, again, you know what? If I really pull my shirt tight, you're going to see the barrel a little bit. and you might see a little bit of the front of the holster right here. But honestly, for a Beretta 92 FS, like a full size Beretta, not the compact, but the standard full size, it's pretty good. Of course, on the other side, you have the dual magazine carriers, and that's a really nice thing because it provides a couple benefits. One, it's a counterweight for the gun. It really helps. You know, if I spin around here, you'll see this pretty much rides center on my back. You know, you shift around a little bit, but it pretty much rides center and provides a very comfortable, you know, ride on the holster because you don't have it pulling to one side because you've got the 2 spare mags as a counterweight. The other thing is you've got 2 spare mags. So obviously, you know, you're probably never going to need what's in the gun, which you might notice, and I'll stop here and pause for a sec. You might notice that I have an extended mag in this. That's because of the cant of the gun. I'm able to put I think this is the 21 rounder Mekgar mag. I'm able to put a big magazine in this, and it doesn't print any more than if I had the flush fit mag. But on top of that, I've got 2 spare 17 rounder mags on the side here, right? So if you get into that mythical long drawn out gunfight that you're never going to get into, you've got you've got a lot of ammo on your person because you're able to have 2 spare mags. And again, depending upon your gun you get this for, it might be a different amount of ammunition, but I think it'd be safe to say that for pretty much just about any semi-automatic, you're probably going to be able to have a slightly extended mag in the gun if you want to, and then of course you'll have the 2 spare mags on your side. So overall, I really think this is a good option for concealed carry, and it's very comfortable, especially, they do like the wider straps now. I've had no issues with comfort once I got it adjusted. Okay, now as far as drawing the gun, I've seen different methods of drawing from a shoulder holster, depending upon the style. You see, I think in the Galco manual, it basically talked about, I think I saw an image of like, you would basically pull back your cover garment, grab the strap, pull the strap up, and then you're able to get the gun. If your arms are long like me, you can just kind of like grab the gun. It's a little bit of a weird angle, but in heat of the moment, you'd probably figure it out. Honestly, we'll just try, I'll show a couple different draws. Again, I'll do the pull on the strap and pull, break the thumb brake, and out comes the gun. Drawing's pretty good. It's still a little bit stiff. I think I already mentioned that break-in on this was actually really aggressive, like probably one of the stiffer holsters I've ever had to break in, but it's broken in plenty that I've been able to get a pretty nice draw set up on this. Reholstering, one of the things I'll end up using is I find myself using the thumb snap here, and I'll use that and then push in on the gun to get it all the way in, and it just snaps in like that. The thumb brake is really nice because it pops right off, and I'm able to, basically get a full firing grip on the gun, break the thumb brake, and out comes the gun, ready to go. So drawing on this is pretty good, and then of course, obviously you would, in this mythical big gunfight, you'd be able to reach in, undo the thumb snap, and then pull a spare magazine out. Basically one-handed if needed. So that's pretty much it. That's concealment under a very, very light cover garment. And drawing, again, works pretty good. Definitely something that has to be practiced, like any kind of holster. But once you get it broken in, once you get it figured out, I honestly am very happy with this holster. So my final thoughts on the Galco Jackass rig is I like it. It's definitely got a few shortcomings in the fact that I wish Galco offered this for more models. It's kind of limited to, I think, only semi-automatics at this point and only specific models. So I'd like to see them produce this for more models. But once you get it set up and broken in, it conceals well, it rides pretty good. You've got 2 spare mags on the other side for the extended length gunfight you're never going to get into, but it does offer a nice counterweight, which really makes a good balance. I don't feel like I'm, bogged down. I don't feel like, I'm like bent over or hunched over, like I got too much weight on my shoulders. It really feels comfortable, and after putting it on, you pretty much forget it's there, which is nice. It conceals well, even under a fairly light cover garment, at least for me, once I get it all, adjusted right. So I gotta say, I like it. The cost on them, they're not the cheapest shoulder holster in the world, but then again, there's definitely more expensive shoulder holsters. And something I've noticed is that if you shop off the Galco website versus looking on like Amazon or Optics Planet or Midway or something like that, there's a significant price difference. Galco's website is quite expensive. So I end up basically never ordering off their website. If I'm going to get something, it's from somewhere else. But other than that, I think it's a nice holster. So put down below what you think. Is this something you have? Have you used it? Have you considered it? Let me know down below, and have a good day.